everybody. I'm Dan Porterfield, the president and CEO of the Aspen Institute. Since, Tom, you said I was your boss, I guess I think you and your team deserve not just a round of applause, but a raise, because you've done some amazing things today. Thank you so much. And we have a great time at the Aspen Institute trying to think creatively about how can we together activate the country in order to drive change towards a more free, just, and equitable America. And all of you are a part of that journey, and youth athletics and youth opportunity, education, inclusion in the economy, the chance for children and youth to develop the greatness inside of them is dead center, a part of our mission. And thanks to Tom, I think we're doing it in ever more creative ways. So thank you all for being here. I also want to call out for a second my close friend, John Thompson III, who's here in the front row, second row, who I worked with at Georgetown. John, thank you for being here today. So Project Play is a multifaceted effort where we're working across all kinds of sectors to identify gaps in access and quality of opportunity in sports for young people. We're trying to empower leading organizations to lock arms together to build strategic plans to get more kids up and active and playing, developing all those qualities of leadership, of confidence, of being able to engage with others and be a teammate that sports can engender. And it's all about doing it in a way that supports the social and emotional development of young people. Not just out there teaching them to be junior Olympians because we love sport, but to really cultivate in young people that holistic development, that flourishing of the spirit and soul that you can get through well-structured athletic opportunity. And that's what Tom and his team have stood for. Well, Title IX is our friend in this endeavor, because Title IX, which we celebrate 5 decades of implementation and change, is both a law and an idea. And both matter, but it's reshaped so many aspects of sport and of society and of how we understand each other and talk to one another and the questions we bring to new opportunities that present us. Title IX has given us a new vocabulary, a new set of values, a way of having equity centered at the very beginning of our planning and expression of our hopes and our dreams for our young people and for our educational experiences. So we're lucky because we have a 2-part session here, but the first part I get to be a part of with Catherine Lhamon, who is the lead official implementing and enforcing Title IX policy across the federal government. And Catherine, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you for having me.
So let me start for a second also by saying that our second panel discussion will be Louise Radnofsky of the Wall Street Journal, who will explore the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead for girls with Carissa Niehoff, who's the top official in high school sports, Ariel Atkins, WNBA star and gold medalist, and by the way, WNBA Mystics won the championship a couple years ago, so the national champion Mystics. And then on stage will be Sheila Johnson, who is a visionary, an artist, a creator, a humanitarian, and a professional sports owner. So this will be a lot of fun, part 2, but Catherine, you're part 1. Thank you for being here today.
Well, thanks for having me.
So let me ask you this. You have, why don't you tell us in your words, what is Title IX to you?
Well, first let me just say thank you all for joining us. I hope I'm not wrecking you with my mic. And Title IX for me is what I hope it is for all of us, which is a congressional guarantee and promise that all students will be able to enjoy educational opportunity without discrimination, including with respect to sports, but not only with respect to sports. And that is transformative in my lifetime. As we mentioned, this is the 50th anniversary of Title IX. It meant that I have grown up my entire life with that expectation of what schooling should mean and what equality should be. And I am very grateful to have lived that and to be able to see my daughters continue to live that as well.
Thank you. I was teasing Catherine, since her Wikipedia site, like all of ours, I guess, does have her birthday. She is a Title IX baby, 1971. You just beat Title IX by a couple months.
Thank you for outing me.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
I think it's fascinating that you, so you went to Amherst, then I think Yale Law School.
That's right.
You obviously have a passion for civil rights, period. How did you, your own personal journey, how did you come upon Title IX as the kind of lever you wanted to be pulling to drive change towards justice?
So Title IX came to me. I was born a year earlier than Title IX is, and I have been delighted to be able to enforce it among the other laws that I enforce in the Department of Education. Thank you. And it is my delight and pleasure to be able to enforce Congress' promises about what civil rights should mean in schools across all of the jurisdictional areas that we have. So it is a thrill to be able to benefit from and enforce it, and to see the equality in schools that has been part of our national promise for my entire life.
You know, one thing that's pretty amazing is just looking at the numbers. In 1972, there were something like 300,000 girls playing high school or college sports, and now today it's 3 million. You know, at least.
I mean, just to say, it was just under 300,000 playing only high school sports.
Oh, was it?
And
okay, yeah.
we've seen a 1,076% increase in that time. And I just want to say that statistic because that's amazing in the change in these 50 years.
What does it mean for people? So we get that it's made a sea change in how we looked at opportunities for athletic participation. There's more to Title IX than that, but stay on athletics. But what is the value of that? Why is that good?
Well, we know the benefit of sports, right? We know that, that most of the CEOs who are women were athletes and played sports. We know that people participating in teams helps them prepare for democratic participation and for citizenship. And being on a team teaches you about yourself, teaches you about perseverance, teaches you about helping other people. I mean, there's so many benefits that people who love sports get from sports and getting to be able to participate. And when we were as a country excluding women and girls from that opportunity, we were excluding women and girls from their full development and full realization of who they could be. And so that major transformation that we have seen in this time is a transformation in who we are as a people and who we are as a country, and the kinds of expectations that we set and the opportunities that we offer to all people, including the women and girls who've been able so much to benefit in this time of these 50 years.
So I've had my own great experiences through athletics. As an athlete when I was younger, as an educator at Georgetown. In fact, I had the privilege of overseeing athletics my last 3 years I was there, and 1 year partnering with John and being the interim athletics director. Then I became a college president where I was responsible for compliance with the law across the whole institution. And Title IX had all kinds of impacts in very positive ways.
Yes.
I mean, John, for example, was responsible for building an enormously important facility for athletics at Georgetown. And everything in the women's part of that facility is exactly the same as in the men's part of the facility. He designed it. And we never had a Title IX conversation. He just did it because it was the norm.
Right.
And I think that's so inspiring.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing, right? That we change what we understand about expectations. We change who we are and the expectations that we set for our communities when we actually have equity in mind, and when it becomes not a thing that we have to wait for me to come and enforce, but because it is what we expect.
So I want to come to the questions about education and enforcement in high school sports, but for a moment, let me ask a question about colleges, because I was a college president, and in 2013, a sort of legendary Dear Colleague letter was issued that set the expectation for colleges and universities that we needed to develop a much stronger set of a comprehensive approach to identifying, preventing sexual misconduct, to addressing it through our campus processes, through supporting survivors. And there's a lot of attention on that theme since that time. I would say as a college president that something that's maybe not talked about as much is that actually across the country, if you looked at the 3,000 colleges and universities, there was, before 2013, an extraordinarily sort of decentralized, uncoordinated approach to sexual misconduct. There was no coherence or standards that ran across the country. You had some schools that did nothing. You had some schools that had a colleague wasn't appropriate for conducting hearings, doing them. The educational sort of model of promoting awareness about misconduct was completely inconsistent. And though implementing it was no doubt at the national level quite a challenge for you, I would say a huge benefit that I saw was that everybody raised their game over those years. Not that it was easy or fun, but the game has been raised, and it's much more professionalized, if that makes sense.
It does.
How do you feel about that, and where does that issue stand today?
I'm so grateful to hear you say that, and I think it's so crucial, right? I mean, what you're describing is in excess of 4 decades after Title IX had made the promise that we should be seeing equity in all aspects of women and girls' experience in schools and boys and men's experience in schools. And we had, the Office for Civil Rights had, as early as 1981, started enforcing Title IX to include sexual harassment and sexual assault in schools, but we hadn't seen the kinds of progress that we needed to see in the country. And you know, that is the story of America, right? That we have beautiful promises that we struggle to achieve, and it was well past time. And it is well past time now. So I'm grateful for the transformation. I'm grateful that so many people understand Title IX to apply to all aspects of sex equality, and including with respect to sports and with respect to sexual violence in schools, and for the progress we've made. And there's so much more still to be done, right? We still have students who are not experiencing what is their right, what Congress has promised to each of us, that no person shall be subject to sex discrimination. So, I'm looking forward to more progress as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So let's turn now to sports again. What do you think are the challenges that we together need to embrace around education and enforcement of Title IX at the high school level?
Well, the key challenge is that there should be no kid who wants to play sports who is excluded from a team. There should be no kid who experiences athletic opportunity in a school in a way that diminishes that kid. And that's true in high school, that's true in elementary school, that's true in college, right? The promise is that the educational programs and activities should be offered on an equal basis to all. And what we see in our enforcement experience at the department continues to be schools not offering girls and women the same kinds of opportunities. And they're really concrete ways, right? That we see softball fields that are uneven and pockmarked, and whereas the boys' baseball fields are terrific, or we see locker rooms that are not well equipped for the girls, where they're phenomenal for the boys, or the playing time will be unequal, or the Friday night games or the Saturday games are for the boys but not for the girls. Those kinds of opportunities that communicate to kids that you are less valued, that you are not for whom the school is offering opportunity, and that's against the law. That's what we want to see changed.
Yeah, so, what should we expect, if anything, in changes that may come out over the next period of time in this area?
Well, I hope we will continue to see more and more progress. I mean, I talked about what I think is amazing and transformative in these first 50 years of Title IX, where we see so many more girls and women playing, so many more girls and women participating in schools, and we still have quite a distance to go to make sure that all of our schools are meeting the interests and the abilities of all of our potential athletes. And so, it is my job to make sure that schools do their job to live up to Congress' promise for kids, and I hope that we will continue to be very successful in that effort.
Are there more tools that we can create to help schools to do that, you think?
Well, sure, there's more tools. There's also just more commitment for all of us, right? Title IX is the law. It's enforceable by students, parents, families. It's enforceable by leaders at schools, as you described your experience at Georgetown of just building the facilities so that it's right, offering the opportunities so that they're right. If we all are committed to an expectation that every kid who wants an opportunity should be able to receive it in school, that is actually the way to be leaders and to offer school opportunities. So my hope is that it's the common parlance. It's the way that we all think. It's the drinking water that we all have. And so, when a kid says, I think there should be a softball team at my school, or field hockey is important to me, I want to be able to play, that should be an offering, and that should be available for all the kids.
Sometimes good goals come in tension with each other, and that, of course, is, everybody's job is to manage those moments. It's not your job to decide everything. It's for our job to manage when something that we want to do with boys, we need to do with girls, or we want to do with girls, but we have to do with boys. And sometimes you probably hear people expressing anxiety about that. How do I know what's right? So how do you deal with that?
Well, we try to be really clear about what's right. So we've put out a bunch of guidance, and we put all of our resolution agreements up on our website, and so people can see how we've applied the law to particular facts. They can see the ways, the questions that we ask, the information that we think is important. We try to be really explicit and clear on our website, and in moments like this, in conversations with technical assistants to schools, to share what the law is and how to make sure that you're satisfied. Because most of the time, when we see noncompliance, it's not typically because somebody was actually trying to hurt a kid. It's typically because somebody didn't know. And so we try to make sure that people have the information, are able to comply, and then are able to do the things that we want for all of our kids in school.
Thank you. Thank you. So we're pretty excited about something that we've done. Project Play has just released a school sports playbook with a number of recommendations, including those for the Department of Education. One of those is for DOE to create or endorse a survey instrument that any school can use to demonstrate compliance with Title IX while gleaning additional insights critical about student interests. I think you might have had a chance to glance at the playbook. Shameless self-promotion, but what do you think?
Well, first of all, I love the idea that schools should be interested in what it is their students are interested in and figuring out how to satisfy that. And that idea of a survey, of finding out what kids want and what they're able to do, then to figure out how to meet those needs, that's crucial to the way that we enforce Title IX. So, I think that's a really critical first question. So often schools will say, well, we didn't think anybody wanted to play. Well, you don't know if you don't ask, right? So we should find out what are the sports that kids are interested in, and is there a team that they could play against, and can you as a school community satisfy that interest?
So one of my greatest privileges as an educator has been to support students and families in their journeys, whatever that journey may be. And some of the most meaningful relationships I've had with mentees have been with students who are transitioning their genders. And I'll spare you the stories, except to say that if you've even helped one student or one family, you become a witness to what many students and families are experiencing, and you want to be supportive. So now you've got a pretty interesting and hard challenge that's getting very politicized coming to you as you think about how to issue the new Title IX regulations that address gender identity as a protected category and prevent schools essentially from keeping transgender girls off of girls' teams. I'm not sure I'm framing the question right, but what can we expect on that topic?
Well, as you all may know, the Department of Education is in the process of evaluating our existing regulations, which is the rules implementing Title IX, and evaluating what, in addition, we should say. So I don't have an announcement about that today. We don't have those out yet. But the department in this administration has been very clear about the opportunities for transgender students in schools with respect to sports and across all aspects of schooling. And just to not bury the lead, the department has issued a notice of interpretation of Title IX that explains our view is that the rule against discriminating on the basis of sex includes a prohibition on discriminating on the basis of sexual orientation or gender identity. And in court, in litigation, we have taken the position that schools cannot have a categorical ban on transgender students' participation in sports. It violates Title IX. So those are very, very clear rules, and I think it's important for all of our school communities to understand every student has value. Every student is protected by the law. The text that Congress wrote in Title IX is that no person shall be subject to discrimination, and there's absolutely no question that transgender people are people. So they are protected by the law, and we and I are prepared to protect them.
How do you make this kind of decision? Like, what goes into the process of coming out with your best judgment about how to proceed?
So much listening, so much research, so much review of cases, so much review of people's experience in schools, and we listen to people, at every level of education and with every relationship to education: parents, students, educators, administrators, lawyers, campus presidents, school deans, everybody who can be impacted by the work that we do. We're interested in their views because we want to make sure that the law and our enforcement of the law actually works for people who are in school communities.
Well, we want to thank you for all of your commitment as a civil rights leader and a public servant to trying to create an ever-evolving understanding of equity and to ensure that it's enforced. Please join me all in thanking Catherine for being here with us today.